Hello, this is Sound of Free. I am Tuomas, and welcome watching my live review of the Beach Boys' 19th studio album Holland, which was released on January 8th of 1973. And Holland was recorded in Holland, and I'm sure you all know the backstory of the album, so I will not talk too much about that. I will just go straight to the review itself, but whatever, couple words about the album. Let's wait if somebody wants to join me in the chat. But yeah, Holland. It was Jack Riley's idea to transport the group to Holland, out of all places. I don't know the details of like why they chose Holland, but I believe it was Jack Riley's idea, and I believe it was mainly because he just loved the country himself. I don't know if he had been to Holland before, but he, after they had recorded or finished recording in Holland, he stayed there. And if somebody doesn't know, Jack Riley was the manager of the Beach Boys during that time, from 1972 to 73 or 71. No, sorry, 71. From 71 to 73, and I think he was fired some months after the release of Holland, I believe, and I'm not sure if he was fired or if he just stayed out after that. But anyway, the recording took, I think, several months. I think it took a few months. I'm not sure, but if you know how long it took them to actually record the stuff in Holland. They recorded it in Baanbroek. I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right. And they transported their whole studio setup thing over there, and they built it in some sort of barn or whatever. I don't know. I wish there was some sort of making of thing, because it all just sounds so crazy. And of course they were joined with Blondie Chaplin and Ricky Fattar, who both had joined the group a year or so before. They were also featured on Carl and the Passions, and it took several tries to get Brian finally on the plane and to fly to Holland. And I think I read somewhere that during the time in Holland, Brian really got better. I remember reading somewhere that he liked to cycle a lot over there, and it would be really cool to know more about this period. But there's not that much out there, and Holland is one of those albums that is overlooked a lot, and in these documentaries, and even like in these books, these autobiographies and stuff like that, it's usually kind of rushed forward and barely mentioned, which is a shame, because I think Holland is maybe the last. I don't know. I mean, I love LA, but Holland is, yeah. I think I can say that it's the last group, like this true group effort by this band. Everybody showed brought their best skills, and came together and really created this amazing album, which has, it's hard to even pick songs that would be like standouts, because it's all so high quality stuff. There is no filler. So from here, let's go to the tracks. Holland opens up with Sail on Sailor, and Sail on Sailor was added at the last moment to the album because the record company didn't think it was commercial enough. So I'm not sure. Maybe somebody like called Van Dyke Parks, who I believe wrote the first version of Sail on Sailor, and it was I think it was a few years old song already, but it hadn't been released by anybody, and so somehow it went to Brian, and then Sail on Sailor has a bunch of writers attached to it, but yeah, I mean, Sail on Sailor is the only track that I had heard, I believe, from Holland before I actually listened the whole thing. It was a minor hit. I wasn't living back in the days, but anyway, and it is the most well-known song of this album, but it is in no way the best, or I mean, it's a great song, but it's not like this album is so far from this one hit wonder, and the rest is filler, whatever, sellout thing. But yeah, I mean, Sail on Sailor is this classic 70s, early 70s rock song. I mean, what can you say about it? And Blondie does this really great version of it with Brian. Has been doing it like, I don't know, last 3 or 4 years almost. Since, I think, when did Blondie join Brian? I think it was 2015. Or was it 16? Or 15? I don't know. I don't remember. Or 14. I don't know. I should have checked that out beforehand. But yeah, whatever. Second track is Steamboat, which was written by Dennis and Jack Riley. I think Riley probably wrote the lyrics. Steamboat is an interesting track. It's completely different from what Dennis wrote, I think, and it's completely different from the Beach Boys style in general, but I think it really fits Holland because it has this murky and muddy atmosphere, and the guitar solo, which I believe is played by Carl, but I could be mistaken. Please tell me who plays the amazing guitar solo on Steamboat. I mean, I think it actually like took me like a few years that I actually realized that it is even a guitar solo. I mean, the sound of the guitar on it, it's just it really sounds like a steamboat. I mean, it sounds weird, but I don't know. It's just a killer solo, and the whole track itself, it's very mysterious, and it's pretty slow, and it has this thing that kind of goes through the whole thing and sets the whole pace of it. This like, it sounds like almost like a steam train, or steamboat. This percussion like thing. This I don't know how they did that, but whatever. I love it. I think it's amazing, and it's really that kind of track that just gets better on repeated listenings. It's not this like when you hear it the first time, it may not blow your mind, but the more you listen to it, the more you enjoy it. That's my theory, and that's how I've felt about it. And this whole album is kind of that way. It might not blow your mind on the first listening, but it definitely will grow on you. And then we go to California Saga, which is this 3-part or 3 songs basically put together in this suite kind of way. And California Saga opens up with Big Sur, which is a Mike Love song, and it was first recorded in, I think, 1970 or 69. But anyway, there is this waltz version of it, which is quite different from the Holland version, and some people think it's better than this one over here. And while I think it would be amazing, and I would love to, have a official release of this, this first recording of Big Sur, I still think the version on Holland is superior to that, especially like in this context, in the context of this album. I think Big Sur just, I mean, if you even try to imagine the earlier recording of Big Sur, which by the way has phenomenal backing vocals and harmonies, if you try to imagine that on Holland, it just doesn't fit. But anyway, this version is very acoustic. I'm not sure if there is, since I don't remember. I don't think so. I think it's very acoustic guitar, and it's very almost like folk type of a song, and it's one of the greatest tracks that Mike wrote alone. I mean, he composed it and he wrote the lyrics, and it's an amazing track, and his vocals are phenomenal. Truly, just very touching, and I love the way it flows to the next track, The Beaks of Eagles, which is really interesting because it's half like a spoken poem thing, but then there are these parts which are sang and which were written by Al, I think. But anyway, it's based on this poem by Robinson Jeffers, who I am not familiar or his work at all. If you know something about Robinson Jeffers or have read his poems or whatever he has done, please write down a comment and tell me who Robinson Jeffers is or was. Beaks of Eagles is probably, and it is the weakest track of California Saga, but it doesn't mean that it's weak. I do actually enjoy it quite a lot, and I think it is the perfect middle piece, and it flows really good. And I think the parts that Al wrote to it, the parts that are he sings and that Mike sing, and the lyrics in those, I'm not sure if they wrote the lyrics too. I think they did. Anyway, I don't know. I really dig it. It's not. I mean, it's not that kind of song that you would perform in front of an audience, probably. But man, I still wish that they had, even just for once, done the whole California Saga thing, which would add up to 10 minutes or so, and it would have been epic, with the whole spoken word thing section. And the lyrics are very dark, I mean, it's great how it, like, Big Sur has this hope in it, even though it's very melancholic, but it's about, dreaming this, Big Sur where, this character wants to, or Mike, should I say, wants to move and, raise his family and, that sort of stuff. And then we go to Beaks of Eagles, which is, has a lot of history references and, there's, stuff about bodies and, eagles, and, it's very, very epic and very dark and ominous, should I say. And then we have this flute comes in, and it transports you to the next track, which is the final track of California Saga, which is California, or also known as On My Way to Sunny California. It was a track written completely by Al Jardine, it has lead vocals by Mike and Brian in the beginning singing the "I'm on my way to sunny California, I'm on my way to spend another sunny day." And the way, I mean, I just love the way Beaks of Eagles and California kind of, you know, melt together. The way they, I mean, the way the flute kind of, you know, flows, and then we get that upbeat thing going, and you hear Brian's this, you know, very childlike voice the first time on this record, like, and you know, and pretty much the only time you hear his voice in, you know, in that much clear way. You know, you don't really hear Brian on this album that much. He's also on Funky Pretty in the backing vocals, but not very easy to, you know, hear. And California is a track that should have really been a hit song. The instrumentation is really great. It has this folksy thing going with the banjo, and you know, it's very, like, these days. If it was released these days, it would, you know, it sounds like these, you know, 2018 hipster indie bands, and it has these analog synths going, the kind of like the synth bass thing going, which is really cool, groovy. It's really interesting. I really love it, and I think it's one of the best. It could be almost like the only one. I don't know, whatever. Only one of those, or the best one of those Beach Boys tracks that is. I mean, it's about, you know, California and you know, fun things, and, you know, music. You know, they sing about this festival thing, and in Big Sur and sun, of course, but it also has a deeper meaning to it, you know, in the lyrics. It's almost like this spiritual thing, and really great stuff. Then we go to side B. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you. I actually do have the album itself over here, and it is signed by Brian, Blondie, and Al, and that is pretty cool. And I love the album cover and the backside, which you know, may not have seen if you do not own it. I will show it to you. It looks like this. It has pretty cool pictures of the whole group. There is Al with his cool beard, and there's Mike with his beanie, and there's Carl next to him. Then there's Ricky over here, Dennis, and Blondie, and Brian is in the middle with the long hair, looking almost like angry. Yeah, but you know, what a cool period of the group. I mean, everybody just looks really great. I love the picture of the cows. And this whole, I don't know who designed this, but this is really great, really awesome. I once saw in eBay, I think, these patches with this design. I would love to get one, but you know, you can only order them from USA, and you know, it costs like $50 to ship them to Europe. So there you go. Yeah, side B opens up with The Trader, which is a track by Carl, and the lyrics were by Jack Riley once again. And The Trader is a very progressive track. It doesn't have a chorus. It opens up with this really sweet high by one of Carl's kids, and it's over 5 minutes long, and lead vocals by Carl. He sings it very beautifully, and it basically, I mean, the trailer kind of almost has like two songs in it. The first part is completely different from the second part. First part is more rock and roll, you know. It has a beat and it's very upbeat, and but the lyrics are very dark. I mean, it tells a story of, you know, traders and you know, these the settlers or whatever, you know. Anyway, Western people invading, you know, these original you know, like like Indians and you know, in Australia. What's the word? Oh my god. Whatever. You know the thrill. And it's a very dark song. And the second part is very slow. It's very minimalistic and it's very beautiful and touching. You know, the way Carl really had the capability of singing, you know, same time with this, you know, with this really great rock and roll voice, and then he could, you know, do this really sweet thing also. It's very rare to have a voice like that and the ability to sing like that, you know, with that diversity. He was really unique, and definitely one of the, you know, best songs that he ever wrote, you know, Trader. Leaving This Town, that is the track on this album by Ricky and Blondie, and he also has writing credit by Carl. I don't know what he contributed to it, but I would love to know. Leaving This Town is really amazing. It's a long track, almost 6 minutes, and it has lead vocals by Ricky and Blondie. And Leaving This Town, I mean, first of all, I love the lyrics, and I love the synth solo or the keyboard solo in the middle of it, and especially the live version on the Beach Boys in concert, which is phenomenal. If you have not heard it, you definitely should. And the tag, the ending with Mike coming in. And by the way, yeah, anyway, the harmonies in the tag, I just love that ending. I would love to hear this, you know, longer version of the ending. I don't know if there, you know, is more to it, but it's amazing. I forgot to say about Steamboat that one of my favorite things about it are the bass vocals. I mean, the bass vocals on Steamboat are just so freaking good. But I'm not sure who sings them. Is it Dennis or is it Mike? I would love to know. If you know which one is it, please write it in the comments. I think it's Dennis. I would guess it's Dennis, but I am not sure. But I would love to know. I mean, they are just like, I mean, they are so over the top almost that they're almost funny. But whoever is singing them just nails them completely. You know, it's great stuff. But anyway, let's move forward. Only With You is the second track by Dennis on Holland, and it's a very Mike wrote the lyrics, by the way. It's a very pretty love song, and you know, it's not that well known, which is a shame, because it's, you know, it's, I don't know, I think it's almost up there with Forever, and it would make a perfect wedding type of song. And I love the part near the end where, you know, the piano, you know, when everything kind of fades out and then the piano comes with the do. And I don't know, I can't sing, but whatever, you know, that part where the piano comes in just alone. I mean, the chords and the notes that it plays, it's just, it really hits you in this super cool way. I love it. And then Dennis actually wrote or recorded another version of Only With You, I believe in his bamboo sessions with his rough, really, voice. And while it's a good version, also I do really enjoy this Holland, this original. Carl really sings beautifully the lead, and I just love those harmonies. Really great. And then we go to the ending of this record, which is the last track, Funky Pretty, which, by the way, I think is, once again, fabulous. I think it's amazing. It's pretty much perfect. It's over 4 minutes long. It was written by Brian and lyrics by Mike and Jack. And it is sung by the whole group. Everybody except Dennis and Brian take a lead line vocal part, one by one. But it's mostly sung by Blondie. And there is something really interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening in Funky Pretty, out of which the most interesting things are the drums, which are played by Brian himself. I once tried to explain this to a friend of mine that the drum part in Funky Pretty is really hard, because it's not hard as in hard to play. It's the thing why it's hard is because it's impossible to kind of like guess where it goes next and when, because it's not a beat. It's not this normal beat that you would play. It's I don't know, it's something crazy that Brian is doing and that only he could come up with. You understand what I mean if you listen to the song and you try to kind of like catch up with the drums, and you will notice that it's impossible, because every time you think you know the pattern, it changes. The way the hi-hat thing comes with the ch-ch-ch in all crazy spots, and the way the drums kick, and you kind of think that okay, now we got a beat thing going, and then it ends and stops and it begins, and I've heard the track like 1 billion times, but I still can't figure it out. Then it has these amazing synthesizers going, which are kind of sweeping in and out, and Funky Pretty is really something, and I just love the vocals. I even love the lyrics. I think Funky Pretty is very different from anything that this band released before or since. I would love to have heard, if they had taken and continued on this style, not just with the Funky Pretty style, but this album style, what they could have, come up with. Because the sound, the production, instrumentations, songwriting on this album is just so great. There's really not. I always try to find negative things to say about things that I love. I always try to find that angle to get something interesting. When I tell about these things, or try to make a video or review whatever about something. I really wanna do a video where I just say everything is great, but with Holland I pretty much can say that I really don't have much of nothing to criticize, really. Anyway, the live version of Funky Pretty is a lot different. from the studio album version, but I love both. I think both are great. And then just fastly, I want to say a couple words about Mount Vernon and Fairway, which is this Brian's fairy tale thing, which was released with the album itself. I do have it also, and the original sleeve, but as you can see over there. This album includes one 12-inch and one 7-inch, blah blah blah. So it was the 7-inch record. I think it's like 15 minutes long. About whatever, I mean 10 minutes or so, and it's narrated by Jack Riley, and the music, I mean the story is great. I love it, and it's pretty touching if you think of it as this almost like autobiographical thing, Brian, who does the Pied Piper voice. Well, like if Brian is the Pied Piper, and with the magical radio and the magical music, and then he just like the way he's treated. I mean, it's really a touching thing. I really think it's interesting, but the music itself on Mount Vernon and Fairway is really beautiful. It's mostly driven by synthesizer sounds, but just listen to the theme song in the beginning, and I think it appears a couple times later on. It also it could be like one of the most beautiful synth instrumentals that there is. I would love to hear a full fleshed out version of that. But yeah, so Holland is gonna be just in a few years, 5 years, in 5 years or something, 50 years old, and I would love to get this Holland box set thing, because there are a bunch of amazing tracks that were left out, like We Got Love, which was released in 2015 on iTunes, but whatever. I mean, We Got Love is an amazing track by Blondie and Ricky, and then there are other tracks also, like Carry Me Home, which still hasn't been released in any shape or form, which is a track by Dennis and sang by Blondie, and I think it's one of Dennis' best tracks, and that is a lot to say. I really like that. That's, to me, that is probably like the crown jewel of unreleased Beach Boys material at this point. I know there is circulating this bootleg, this really lousy recording of it, but I want to have the best possible version of it with the greatest quality, and I just cannot understand why they still have not released that one, or why they even dumped it out of the album. My mind is just boggled with that fact. But anyway, there is a bunch of other outtakes also, like this other track by Blondie and Ricky, which name I cannot now remember, but this about 3-minute rock track, which is really cool. But yeah, hey, what do you guys think about Holland? I do rate it very high. On the Beach Boys albums, I think it's definitely in the top 3, and it's definitely one of the albums that I listen the most, and it's a very important album to me personally. So that's about it. Really sucks that the next year in '74, Endless Summer came and killed the Beach Boys. You know, this artistic journey as a group, and it's a really shame that Jack Riley left after Holland, because I mean, it just sucks. I mean, Holland is so freaking great, and it was a huge flop because the transportation of the recording, you know, thing and building the studio in Holland, and you know, the whole band traveling to Holland, it cost so much that, you know, it just lost so much money. And yeah, sad thing, but what can you do? I think it's an important, very important part of the band's history, and just amazing record. So yeah, hey, I will leave it at this, and give me a suggestion. Write a comment and tell me what album I should review the next time. Until that, bye bye. We'll see you again. Hopefully soon in the future.